City Council meeting Monday, December 1st, 2014 to order. Clerk call the roll.
Alderman Putoff. Here. Ferrari.
Here.
Waldorf.
Here.
Lukosius.
Here.
Perez.
Here.
Radke.
Here.
Mueller. Sapienza.
Here.
Mayor Harrell.
Here. Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, the Reed family is here, and I know you wanted to say a couple words.
Thank you. I'm Marcia Reed. I'm the wife of Russell Reed. I just wanted to briefly thank each and every one of you on the council for attending his visitation. I thought it was a very fitting tribute to him. He loved the city of Peru. He never said one bad word about this city, and he worked his hardest for it, even though he didn't say a lot. And that's all I have to say. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Vickery, do you have something to fill us in on?
Good job, Dave. Thank you. Mayor Harrell, members of the council, I'm pleased to come before you again tonight to announce another economic development announcement in the city of Peru. Another retail store is coming, and I will read this to the record. This was an email that was sent to myself, Mayor Harrell, and to Chief King. Mayor Harrell, please be advised that Kin Properties has just executed our lease with Salvation Army to lease 21,195 square feet to the west of Dunham Sports, formerly Joanne Fabric. As you may know, Dunham Sports opened on November 14th to a very successful grand opening. Again, everyone at the city has been very helpful and supportive as we push forward to lease the vacant Kmart building. To date, we have leased over 60,000 square feet of the former Kmart building and developed the advanced auto parts on the parcel. We have just under 40,000 square feet remaining to lease. Let me share just a few things about Salvation Army that you may not know. Salvation Army has over 108,000 employees. It has 10,859 community development programs serving over 1 million people. They operate 224 children's homes, 178 homes for the elderly, and 611 daycare centers. So it's a good announcement on the Kmart building, and I look forward to them joining the retail family in Peru. Any questions anybody has?
Mr. Vickery, I understand there's still a little bit of the building left on the east side. Is that correct? How is that coming? Can you give us any information on that?
Well, they're in this memo, it says that they have 40,000 square feet remaining to lease, and I know there's someone interested in 20,000 square feet of that, but I don't know if that's can be announced before the end of the year, if that'll come in the first quarter. But I know there's, I don't know if it's going to take all 40,000 square feet or if it again is going to be parceled out.
You know, so many times up here we hear from you that this is going on and that's going on, but we can never find a name. You can't put a name to it for us. And I understand that. That's privileged information for right now. Can I just ask you, how long have you been working on this, knowing it was Salvation Army?
Well, this came up pretty quickly. This came up probably within the last 2 months. So, but the Dunham Sports actually took about 2 years. We were on Dunham Sports for around 2 years before they had the grand opening.
So these things do move very slowly, don't
they? Some do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for all your efforts, Mr. Baker.
Well, I'll just share with you that the pipeline is strong, and I look forward to some more announcements in the future. Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, Clerk Bartley, was there any public comment cards filled out?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, we have a motion to receive the minutes and place on file.
So moved, Your Honor. Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Putoff, second by Alderman Waldorf, to receive the minutes and place on file. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I believe there needs to be an amendment. If you look at page 4, it says closed session began at 8:03. It says Alderman Putoff made a motion to reopen the meeting at 8:30 p.m. Alderman Radke seconded the motion. City Clerk Bartley, which I don't believe you were here, and called the roll with Alderman Putoff. And it shows Alderman Lukosius absent and Mayor Harrell absent, which I believe you were both here.
Squared away.
Thank you.
I think it's duly noted, and we'll make a motion to accept the minutes with those factors placed into it.
I'll second again.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Putoff, second by Alderman Waldorf, to receive the minutes placed on file with the amendments noted. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. We have a motion to receive the reports and place on file.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Have a motion by Alderman Putoff, second by Alderman Radke, to receive the reports and place on file. Is there any discussion?
I just wanted to note one thing, a couple things, Your Honor, on the tax receipts for the sales tax, home rule, and telecommunications. The city still maintains about a 2% increase of sales tax from the previous year. These are August now numbers that we're getting. And if you look at it, if you add all of those 4 different areas together, you're looking at about a $165,000 increase from the year before. So it does, although it's not a great deal percentage-wise, it does help to see that sales tax moving up. In addition, you see the video gaming share, which is the highest we've had so far, and that is again for the cash received in October, which was $9,000 for the month.
Alderman, the only thing I would like to add to that is everybody takes a look at the sales tax revenue. It's running right on budget.
Thank you. Duly noted.
Administrative Service Manager, pat him on the back. Okay. If there is no further discussion, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Move on to committee. Finance and Safety Services, Alderman Putoff, Chairman.
Alderman Radke?
Yeah, the first disbursement, total disbursements for December 3rd, 2014 are $1,097,573.06. I move that we receive those, place on file, and pay the bills in the usual manner.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Radke, second by Alderman Prez, to receive the disbursements, place on file, and pay the bills in the usual manner. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to mention, we had a comment from a couple of citizens. They questioned a disbursement for, I believe it was $1,600, and that was for a Christmas tree that was purchased for the lobby area. Is that correct, Mike? Okay.
That's going to be the official Christmas tree for the City Hall. We discussed that. It was brought up in, I brought it up to the Finance Committee before we purchased it. Clerk Bartley and I went through Christmas tree search, I guess you could say. We ended up with a company, what was the name of the company again? You've seen them on TV. They've been advertised since then. Bolton Hills. And you'll see that tree out here. Decorating is Thursday, and I assume I'll see almost everyone here. We'll be decorating on Thursday and Saturday. Since we're at this point, I'll get this plug in. Saturday is open house here. We'll have the official lighting of the new Christmas tree, City Hall Christmas tree. It's a 15-foot Christmas tree, so it's going to be something, I think. And all the ornaments on the tree have been made by by students at Washington and Peru Catholic. So try to make it 12 to 1 o'clock.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll have a roll call vote. Clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf. Aye. Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Next, Your Honor, we have the approved fire department monthly report. Please find and close the fire report for a pay period ending November 22nd, 2014. Approved fire department received and responded to total 11 fire calls for this pay period. As per the current city ordinance, there were also 2 monthly trainings. Total pay period for January 30th, 2014 was $3,623.28. Total number of invoices sent out were $635.28. I'll make a motion to accept that report and place it on file.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Fryer, second by Alderman Perez, to receive approved fire department report and place on file. Is there any discussion?
I'd just like to make a note, Chief King, big difference, but on the very bottom there, it says total payroll for pay period ending January 30th, 2014. It's like that pretty much every time we get a report, so you might want to have them correct that.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Next, Your Honor, we have a motion to renew the health insurance with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois for the annual amount of $1,047,593.80. That's an increase of 3.99% over the previous year. Again, last year the city did something a little different with deductibles, where the city took a portion of the deductibles. We hired them hired the deductibles for the employees. The city picked up the first portions of that. This year we did play the spread and we did save money with that, so that was positive. After looking over the other ideas we had as far as health insurance, medical mutual is something I think we'll have to look at in the future. That is being a self-insured or self-funded program that, again, takes a strong management approach towards employee care. So tonight we're making a motion to renew the health insurance with Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Second.
Have a motion by Alderman Putoff, second by Alderman Radke, to renew health insurance with Blue Cross Blue Shield for $1,047,593.80. Is there any discussion?
Again, the coverages remain the same as the previous year. The deductibles that the city picks up, the front end portion, will be $2,600 for the employee, $5,200 for the entire family. That's just a point of information. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? A roll call vote, clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Makosha.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved.
Tonight we have a motion to approve a Christmas bonus for city employees. That's $50 for full-time, $25 for part-time. I will make that motion.
Second.
Have a motion by Alderman Putoff, second by Alderman Radke, to approve a Christmas bonus for city employees, $50 for full-time and $25 for part-time. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote, clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Makosha.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved.
Tonight we have a motion to authorize the mayor to execute the certification of Chief Executive Officer for fiscal year 2014. That's for the TIF annual reports. And what the signature does is it ensures that the report is accurate. So I would like to make that motion.
Second that, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Putoff, second by Alderman Perez, to authorize the mayor to execute the certification of Chief Executive Officer for fiscal year 2014 TIF annual reports. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Your Honor, we also have a motion tonight to approve a $3,000 contribution towards NCICG. That's towards the local share to match the 50/50 annual planning grant for the U.S. Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration. That's something the city has done in the past. It has proved advantageous for us. It does help the NCIG to administer the grants for the entire community, and that is our portion. So I will make that motion tonight.
Second.
Have a motion by Alderman Putoff, second by Alderman Radke, to approve the $3,000 contribution to NCICG. Is there any discussion? A roll call vote, clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Makosha.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved.
Also in finance, another thing that we looked at was the property casualty liability insurance for the city of Pearl. And we do have an ordinance tonight, and basically what the ordinance says is that we will execute an agreement to renew the insurance at $589,163. Again, that's property, casualty, and liability, and that's with the IMLRA. And in the past, we have not received bids, or we haven't had insurance companies interested in it. This year, we did have a similar co-op that was interested. However, even though it looked very good with $100,000 less, it did not insure the hydroelectric plant. And going out to a third party to try to look at that, to insure that independently, is really impossible. So the bright side is we will be renewing with the IMLR. Okay, so I'd like to make that motion tonight. And first of all, Attorney's here to read the ordinance. You can go over it.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
I think the ordinance is in your packet.
No, where is it?
Titled, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an IML-RMA minimum maximum contribution agreement. The City of Peru, a member in good standing of the Illinois Municipal League Risk Management Association, and party to the IML-RMA intergovernmental cooperation contract, has been fully appraised of the IML-RMA minimum maximum contribution agreement, which amends and supplements the IML-RMA declarations pages dated December 31st, 2014 to December 31st, 2015, and all endorsements thereto. City Council finds that it's in best interest of the municipality to make its IML-RMA contribution in accordance with the IML-RMA min-max contribution agreement.
I'll make the motion that the ordinance be adopted as written and read.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Alderman Putoff, second by Alderman Perez, to adopt the ordinance as written and read. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, I also wanted to add that's down slightly because the library will be absorbing their portion of the workman's comp, so that will be down slightly from what we paid last year.
We should also mention, we talked about the alternatives, but the policy with the IML-RMA is actually a very good policy. I think that it's been pretty beneficial to the city over the last, I don't know how many years we've been with the IML, but.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll have a roll call vote. Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari. Waldorf. Lukosius. Perez. Radke. Sapienza.
Motion approved. Anything further from finance?
We did talk a lot about the tax levy tonight. That's not on the agenda to vote on, but it was discussed, and we've taken a great deal of time to review that.
Okay, we'll move to Public Services. Chairman, Alderman Waldorf.
Yes, sir. We have several electric department ordinances. Alderman Lukosius, please.
Yes, the first one is the electric financial report for October 2014. And during this period, we showed revenues over expenditures of $469,476.26. I'd like to make a motion that this report be received and placed on file.
Second.
I have a motion by Alderman Lukosius, second by Alderman Waldorf, to receive electric financial report placed on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Next, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the sale of 14,915 RECs at $120 per REC to Elements Markets, LLC, for a total of $17,898.
Second.
I have a motion by Alderman Lukosius, second by Alderman Waldorf, to approve the sale of 14,915 RECs. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote. Clerk, call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf. Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved.
Next, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to contract with Edler Power Services to replace generator protection relays on Genset 16 and 17 in the amount of $31,506.31.
Second, Your Honor.
I have a motion by Alderman Lukosius, second by Alderman Waldorf, to contract with Edler Power Services for protection relays. Is there any discussion?
Just for clarification, these are for the two generators at the Peru Rail.
Okay, we'll have a roll call vote, clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved.
Next, Your Honor, I have the city approved revenue and expense report, as of October 31st, 2014. This report shows revenues over expenditures in the amount of $95,522.94. I'd like to make a motion to receive this report and place it on file.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman Lukosius, to receive the water financial report and place on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Next, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize city engineer Eric Carls to prepare bid specifications and seek bids for the Baker Lake restroom and storage facility.
Do I have a second? Have a motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman Sapienza, to authorize city engineer Eric Carls to prepare bid specifications and seek bids for the Baker Lake restroom and storage facility. Is there any discussion?
What's the location on that, Eric? What are you looking at? Which area?
Be on the west side of the lake, just south of the path.
Is it going to be closer, you know how we went out there last year, it's going to be closer to the, more towards the south, and I believe we were looking across on the other side of the sidewalk? Remember that?
That's correct.
Okay.
More towards the south end.
Great, thank you.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll do a roll call vote. Clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved.
Your Honor, tonight I would like to make a motion to renew the 2015 lawn mowing program agreement with D&M Landscaping. This is a 3-year agreement with no increase over last year's.
Second that.
We have a motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman Sapienza, to renew the 2015 lawn mowing program. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor, I just had a couple questions that I've asked before. What did we save, Chief, in this program by outsourcing it?
I don't have the exact figures. I can put them together. It was a substantial amount of money by the end of the season, which obviously finished up. I think we had one cut in late October was the last time, but in the thousands of dollars by contracting it out. We also, if you renew this, what we'll be bringing to committee very soon is to sell and or trade in some of our lawnmower equipment that we have that we held back in reserve on this trial year that we've identified we will not have any use for, but it can bring some pretty big dollars for us. So
Well, I agree. I think they've done a good job. I'm just curious, is I wanted to know the exact total that we saved. And then the other thing is, why a 3-year agreement as opposed to because what I'm concerned about is the lawn business is kind of, it's up and down. You have somebody in business today, gone tomorrow, and sometimes the quality can go down. So I'm just wondering why.
The 3-year is completely for our benefit. D&M, which bid out along with a lot of vendors, bid out a year ago, and they were awarded the contract. They're willing to guarantee a 0% increase for 3 additional seasons. Like all of our contracts, we have a 30-day out clause. So if we're not satisfied with performance or we want to go in a different direction, we can give them a 30-day notice. What this does is essentially we have the same price locked in for 4 years should we choose to do that. So
And you can still fire them after 30 days.
30-day notice.
Right. That's answered my questions. Thanks.
Very good. I have a few questions. What was the total contract amount we received last year for D&M for the entire year?
Of actual dollars spent?
Yes.
35,000, I believe, assuming we have all the invoices, which I believe we do have all the invoices. So right around 35,000.
What's the contract amount for each year?
It's based on the number of cuts. We are built, the original bids that we went out said, tell us how much you will charge us for each cut. So we built the budget based on a educated guesstimate of how many times you have to cut the grass. This was a pretty normal year. You might have that number go up a little bit if it rains more. That number would go down substantially during the drought years.
So we're looking at 34,000.
35, I think that would be a very fair number for the budget next year. You know, could be a little less, could be a little more. I don't expect it to be very much more because we also have a date. Every time each park was cut, we tracked exactly when that was. So that was generally probably about every 6 days. Sometimes it would go 7. One time it did go 10 days with the weather issue. But I can't, we'd have to be cutting it twice a week all summer long to have substantially down.
Chief, maybe, I don't know if, is it an issue we have to vote tonight? Maybe you could send us info like how much we saved exactly and bring it to and how much per cut or what your estimates are for 2 weeks from tonight. I mean, it's still not hit or miss.
I mean, I've got the file. If you need to know, I've got to date how many times we cut it. Take me just a minute. We can table this for a second. I can go pull it
Yeah,
out.
more for me is the savings that we incurred.
I can put that together.
Okay.
Also, my concern is I know that our committee was a separate committee last year, public property, that was handling it. Or actually, Public Works was handling part of it, and then public property was handling the other part. And it seems what we were going to do for this 2015 was we were going to work out different specs for bids, and awarding, my problem is awarding a $34,000 contract without going out for bids is something that we should be doing. You know,
No, when we went out for bid, the bid spec said that the 2015 bid tax that went out that everybody bid on has language that it can be renewed from year to year if mutually agreed upon by the parties. So the fact, if it was an increase, I don't know that we'd want to do that, but for a zero increase, we know what we would be paying. If you go out for bid, maybe it'll be less, it'll probably be more. So the danger of going out for bid is all the bid specs are out there, and the taxpayers are going to pay more money if you rebid this. We bid it in 2015 with bid language that said we can renew this on a year-to-year basis if we want to, and the other party agrees to. And they have agreed to, and our recommendation of public services with a 0%. It's really not a downside for us unless you want to just rebid the whole project, and then we can do that.
Because I do know that there were some services out there, one from, actually there was 3 that had thought they were going to have an opportunity to bid for 2015.
That bid last year?
That bid last year, that thought they would be able to bid again for 2015. And I'm just wondering if we'd be able to save by going out and getting bids, and then, because I don't believe that they knew what the contract read was, you know, they wouldn't have an opportunity to bid for 2015.
It says it right in the bid specs that this is for the 2014 season, and it can be renewed from year to year if agreed to by both parties.
Chief, I think...
have no, if you want to go out and bid, we certainly can do that. I think that there's a strong likelihood you're going to spend more money for the same service.
Alderman Putoff
That's
had
the risk. That's your risk to do
right.
that.
Alderman Putoff had a question too on that, something you had to look. Is there a way that we could table it? Because I'd really like to review those bid specs again in the contract. Could we do that? Could we table it so we can get those answers and I have an opportunity to review that contract?
Yeah, I think if you want to send it to everybody, I mean, the numbers I'm really looking at is to give people, what did we save by having an outside contractor? I understand it's substantial, but I'm looking, you know, was it $35,000? Was it $12,000? That's the number I want to say. I think it's great when you have a vendor like this that's going to do it for 0% increase year after year, and if they've done a good job, you know, that's fine. But I'd like to hold off until I could see the exact total that we've saved.
Yeah, well, I can definitely give you the number of hours of summer help that we did not expend on lawn care that we normally would spend on lawn care. so I can give you that times the hourly rate that we pay our summer help. The number I can't give you, it would be just totally a guesstimate, is how much fuel did we not spend in all of our lawnmowers in every park. What the repair, there would be, that has never been tracked before per lawnmower, how much, so that would be just totally a guesstimate. And then, repairs is just depending on how many. Correct.
Well, I'll withdraw the motion. I think that's good information to have, and ask Clerk Bartley to put it on the agenda for 2 weeks from today, please.
Alderman Sapienza, you withdraw? Okay, all right.
I would also like to see maybe come back with these figures, but look at expansion.
Yeah, I have no problem. The only other risk of tabling it, and just so you're aware of this, I don't know if the 0% is going to stay on the table. Maybe it will for 2 weeks, and what I mean by that is the person has to know if he's got the contract to order new lawnmower equipment. So he was expecting a vote of the council tonight, and he may say, go ahead and rebid it, and let the chips fall where they may. The problem with rebidding it, though, is the bids are out there. Every single person under Freedom of Information, and it's the law, knows exactly who bid what for each individual part. That's the risk of doing that. But so somebody can come in and lower it by $1 and we'll make money, or it may be significantly higher. So we'll get that out though.
Okay. Is there anything further than in public services?
There is, Your Honor. I would like to announce that the next Public Services Committee meeting is next Monday, December 8th at 10 a.m. Everybody is welcome to attend, and Alderman Sapienza has a motion for us.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Chamlin and Associates to complete a detailed floodway study to acquire a letter of map change from Illinois Route 251 to the easterly city limits in the amount of $50,526. In that $50,000, there's a $10,300 potential review fee that we may not spend, so it may be taken out of that $50,000. And what that's doing is we're changing it from, trying to get a change from a floodway to a floodplain to have more control over some of the flooding areas that we've experienced in the past.
You want to elaborate on that a little bit, Eric?
I sure will.
You look like you do.
Yeah, I'd like to.
So the review fee, first to clarify that, the $10,300 is a review fee by IDNR. In our talks, potentially that review fee could be waived. We don't know for certain. In addition, the reason for doing the map amendment, as you know, we've been working towards the protection of the East Wastewater Treatment Plant. The East Wastewater Treatment Plant is considered in an area that's called the floodway. When you're in the floodway, you need to go through the permitting process with DNR, which becomes extremely expensive. With this map amendment, talking with Chamlin and their sub-consultant, Hanson Engineering, who specializes in this type of work, we feel we have enough information in that area that we can move forward with a map amendment, which would take our facility out of the floodway and into the floodplain. Once we're in the floodplain, we can then permit internally. So this also affects many businesses in that area in a positive manner. So if they want to do improvements on their site, then once we get this map amendment, they don't have to go through the process of the costly permitting with DNR, which then we would permit in-house. So Mike and I have been in contact with all the businesses that are directly affected by this, and we're currently working together to get some sort of cost sharing in this project. So that's moving forward.
I don't have a second. Have a motion by Alderman Sapienza, second by Alderman Waldorf, to authorize Chamlin Associates to complete a detailed floodway study. Is there any discussion?
That's the maximum amount, if you, right? At $50,000. If you get funding from another business or property owner, that will decrease our share?
Yeah, exactly. So what we're looking at now and talking to the businesses, we're talking about a 30% cost share. So 30% of that, roughly 40,000 that we anticipate that we'll pay, will be cost shared.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. We need a roll call vote. Clerk call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf. Aye. Prokosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved.
Just want to clarify one other thing with that. We would had to have expended the amount to get the permit in order to complete our improvements for the flood protection. So the additional cost that we're looking at for this map amendment was basically just to help the businesses around us.
Okay, anything further from Public Services?
No, sir. We have one item that has been tabled, and as that moves along, we'll get it back on the agenda. But that is all for tonight.
Okay, we're going to move on to ordinances and resolutions. Ben from NCICG. Ben? There may be some questions, so let's see if there is any questions for you. Okay, we have an ordinance establishing an enterprise zone within the city of Peru, Illinois. Said enterprise zone being a portion of a larger enterprise zone encompassing contiguous portions of the cities of LaSalle, Oglesby, and Peru, the village of North Utica, and the county of LaSalle, Illinois. So if anybody has any questions on that, they could ask Ben.
Everybody received a copy of the ordinance in their packet, as well as a color enterprise zone map. If you don't, I can pass one along down the line here. The supporting documentation and exhibits, and then additionally the intergovernmental agreement.
I think, you're the entity that's going to administer it.
We are currently the entity that administers your existing zone. I believe it's the intent moving forward. There would be, there's a provision in the ordinance that allows for assignment of duties for the zone administrator, and that zone management organization that dictates the activities of the zone would set who the zone administrator is. So that's the mayors and village presidents of the 4 jurisdictions and the county board chairman.
Okay, I'm going to make you earn your keep a little bit. Tell some of the people out here, what's the benefit of having an enterprise zone?
I don't have a case study for you guys, but I just recently did this. I was in Sandwich last week doing the same thing. And I just pulled the Bureau Putnam zone as an example. We administered the Bureau Putnam zone. And we're talking about a 30-year life of the zone. And so the 30-year life of the Bureau Putnam zone was an investment of $1.4 billion and about 6,000 jobs created or retained. So the idea is, as individual jurisdictions, you guys take certain measures to allow the establishment of an enterprise zone within your corporate boundaries. You then give up a portion of your sales tax for building materials that are considered to be incorporated real estate. The state gives up their portion of the sales tax, so they're giving up a greater portion there. You also then, depending on whether or not a resolution is passed, and I call to your attention Section 7, Sub A, and Sub A states that only jurisdictions with a resolution in place will abate the taxes. Subsection B gives parameters for that. Essentially, we're talking about what investment has to be made, how large it has to be, what you can potentially abate. And just for clarification, Sub I has to do with overlap with TIF. Obviously, these provisions don't apply for any territory that's TIF. So if a TIF is in place prior to the creation of an enterprise zone, the TIF would apply. In the event that enterprise zone is in place and enterprise zone benefits are offered prior to the creation of a TIF, that enterprise zone benefit would apply. So that language is in there just to clarify, because there are some overlaps in the statute. Outside of this, which is the local incentive portion, there are some state incentives. We offer a state suite, which includes investment tax credit, a 0.5% investment tax credit, depending on qualified investment, manufacturing, machinery, and equipment sales tax exemption, which is a 6.25% on lubricants, oils, fuels, anything that goes into manufacturing. Again, the business has to qualify. Utility tax exemption, which is your local utility tax portion, excise tax for Commerce Commission, and then the actual tax portion on petroleum products, so natural gas or electricity. So it's kind of a combo suite where you guys are offering something locally, and then the state's offering something on the backside. So for clarity for everybody, this is a new enterprise zone. You have an enterprise zone that will die on July 1 of 2016, and the new zone, if awarded, will take its place. The boundaries we're looking at for this zone are the exact boundaries of our current zone, about 8,800 acres, which is like 13.75 square miles. You're allotted 15, so there's some wiggle room there if we need to make boundary amendments. Typical questions about the locals are based on that property tax abatement. We're not, by making action at any point on your board, you're not speaking for any taxing district or subsequent taxing district that overlaps you or overlaps the other jurisdictions. So school districts, libraries, park districts, whatever they may be, are not committed to that abatement. They can actually be approached at a later date to see if they want to do that abatement.
I have one question.
Sure.
There's actually some residential property included in this enterprise zone, which would be up Marquette Road, even down around Washington Park. And in the interest of full disclosure, I think that would include my house, and also I believe Alderman Perez's house. So I don't know why we would include residential property in an enterprise zone. It doesn't really make any sense to me at all. Unless these are the borders that were created, like you said, years ago, and before the property had developed into a residential area.
There's a few conditions here, and if you look at your legal description, and you guys are very fortunate you don't have a wind farm because your legal's not that long. I know it seems very long, but it's not hundreds of pages. You can kind of look at a sequent occupants, right? You can talk about how the zone existed when it was built in 86, all the way to where it is now. In your original zone, you actually afforded abatement on building materials exemption for residential properties. In 2004 or 2005, so before my time, that was taken out. So that's why there is a little overlap. Now, the biggest thing is, do you want to go through the efforts of surveying the entire zone and pulling out, and rewriting a legal meets and bounds legal description to pull out a bunch of property because you have that bank, because you've got, let's say 800 acres in bank, that you don't really need it. Now, if a development came through and you needed the acreage, those are the areas we start to look. We did the same thing. We administer Bureau Putnam, so we did the same thing in Spring Valley. We had a lot of acreage, but we just weren't using it. It was residential, so we ended up pulling it out because you don't offer that residential. Now, that's why it's in there. I mean, obviously in '86, Marquette Road wasn't that developed, so you weren't really sure on the direction in which you're going, so it certainly could be left in there.
So Alderman Radke's not eligible for a sales tax rebate from the landscaping that he did this summer.
My wife, or how does that work?
That's kind of where the question was going, wasn't it?
The abatement is defined as commercial and industrial property in order to receive it. So you would have to essentially do remodeling on a commercial or industrial.
Well, there's certainly property in the area, the business areas on Marquette Road, for example, or I think even this would include, if I'm not mistaken, the Jewel property, the former, whatever that was behind, was it the Wagner, the Do It Center that is now kind of big? So some of those properties certainly should qualify. I just don't know why we would include residential property, and I certainly don't want to vote for anything that would be a benefit to myself.
I wouldn't worry about that as you're exempt for residential property. Now, not that this is the direction that the City of Peru wants to go. It is a current residential use. You could, through a planning process, define that area to be a new commercial corridor. over the next 25 years, you could demolish homes and make some sort of commercial development out of it or industrial development. I doubt that it would happen, but then that would save you save you having to go through the amendatory process. Obviously, we have a legal description put forth, and the biggest thing is in taking this existing zone and moving forward with it. We've got 600 hours in our surveyor in the zone in Ottawa that we're doing. So we're doing the Ottawa, LaSalle County, Grundy County zone. I don't know what our surveyor is charging us at this point, but 600 hours of his time is getting kind of expensive to reboundary our zone. So we felt that we would keep the existing boundaries.
That's fair. We don't want to. I don't want to spend any unnecessary funds either.
Is there any other questions?
Under Section 3, I guess that would be sub D, the hearing was held on November 13th. It was not exceptionally well attended. There were 3 of us there. It was snowing. It was the first big snow. I didn't pick it, it just happened.
Okay, well, do we have a motion to approve the ordinance as written and read?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second, Your Honor.
I have a motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman Lukosius to approve the ordinance as written and read. Is there any further discussion? We'll have a roll call vote, clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf. Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke. Sepp.
Motion approved. An ordinance amending, do we have a motion to approve the ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Peru, Chapter 42, Section 42-1A concerning open burning?
So moved, Your Honor.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
I have a motion by Alderman Ferrari, second by Alderman Perez to approve the ordinance as written and read. Is there any discussion?
I think maybe if I'm right or wrong on this, Jeff, but doesn't it really give you the ability that if there is a problem that you can grant a no burning or prevent somebody from burning outside of the ordinance?
Correct. It also gives me permission to issue a burning permit. But what we're looking at here, what we had to change was basically just one word in there. In the old ordinance, it stated the fire chief or fire marshal of the city within his or her sole absolute discretion still has the authority to grant a no-fee building permit. We changed that to a burning permit. So that's what changed in this.
Now, this ordinance was previously approved by the council, but that there was a word that was wrong. So the only thing we're doing here is amending this ordinance to change the word building to burn permit.
Okay, we have a motion to approve as written and read by Alderman Ferrari, second by Alderman Perez. If there's no further questions, we'll have a roll call vote. Clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf. Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved. Is there any further ordinances or resolutions?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, unfinished business.
Your Honor, I have a question in regards to, it's probably more directed towards Clerk Bartley. The Comcast franchise fee renewal, are we anywhere with Comcast?
It's in corporate counsel's hands. I know that he's been consulting with our neighboring communities. In particular, we've had some correspondence that flowed through the clerk's office and then on to corporate counsel. Some of our neighboring communities didn't have a PEG access channel opportunity the way we did, and some other things looking into pole connection fees. But I think it's moving along.
Okay. Clerk Bartley, there are, I have received a couple of complaints as far as customer service goes with Comcast. Is there a way that you could, I have a letter here from one of my constituents. Can I give this to you and maybe you could, is there anything that we could do as a
Sure, I mean, I can reach out. We have, Joan Sage is our governmental rep. I do have her cell phone number, and she is very accessible. So, and I have given her number out. I just got a message from Joan this week.
I corresponded with her on
I know that Joan is going to take a bit of a leave here in perhaps starting, you might have gotten notice that she's going to be, she had indicated that she might be out for a little while, but I'll get another number. And I have, Joan, I wouldn't say she's encouraged me to, but when I've addressed specific issues or complaints with her, I've given out her cell phone number to the people with the problem, and she's been pretty responsive.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Alderman Perez?
Yes.
The complaint, would you mind just giving us an idea what the complaint was about?
Sure, I could do that. It's a letter that he had sent over to me after he followed up with a phone call, but he's also sent a copy of his bill that he paid it at Hy-Vee, and he always pays they always pay their bill at the old center that just closed, but now that they have to do it at Hy-Vee, they're on a very fixed income, and so, you know, he's staying at home taking care of his sick wife, and so he always pays his bill on the due date. So he'd always go up to the center, pay it, and everything's fine. Well, now when he goes up to Hy-Vee to pay his bill, I guess he paid it on like the 24th of November, the due date. Well, they shut his service off on the 25th of that morning because now they say they need 3 days from the due date for processing. And he says it's never been that way. So when he called Comcast 800 number, he had some major customer service issues trying to communicate with them and trying to get him to work, where when they were here in Peru, he didn't have those issues. So
you asked about the contract being renewed. At this point, we are not, the contract has been outdated now for several months. And
no, we're not actually, it's not actually expired yet. I know in our last franchise agreement, we did operate without a up-to-date agreement for several months, but I think we're still under contract. We're right at that mark if it's not at the end of the year.
I specifically asked that question a while back, and I was told 3 months. We've been out of contract for 3 months, and we've just been floating along.
One of the things, just from experience, I tell you, Mike, in the contract, it's not an exclusive clause. So one of the things you're saying is, are we held captive to Comcast? And the answer to that is no, because if AT&T or another entity comes in, it's a free market. So there's nothing that says the city is obliged to Comcast to do that.
I personally have been looking into other companies coming in. And as a matter of fact, I have a meeting Wednesday morning with another company looking at specifically internet, high-speed internet. And I've discussed things with other companies as far as television, broadcast television as well. I've gotten a lot of complaints myself from people that are dissatisfied with Comcast. And it seems like that was the only game in town, and competition is very important to keep prices down. Therefore, I don't think we want to get too excited just yet about a contract with Comcast.
I think the big thing on a contract, what will happen is, what do they pay the city per tax, okay? If, for example, if we want an increase on the fees paid per tax, what that does is goes directly on the Comcast consumer bill. So the consumer in itself is paying the city of Peru. And, I mean, you can come up with any figures you want, but ultimately it's going to go back on the consumer's pocket as far as what to pay.
Yes, all that is being taken into consideration with other companies that we talk with.
I mean, the city does currently receive a quarterly franchise payment from Comcast, and even when their contract was out of date, they continued to pay us the franchise agreement.
Any other unfinished business? New business.
Yes, Your Honor, I'd just like to, besides our open house on Saturday, we're gonna have Pearl Harbor Parade. They line up at 10:30, Saturday morning, go to South Shore Boat Club. All the aldermen are invited, a lot of us go. And from there, we will come up here and then we'll go to the city parade, so anybody that's interested in going.
Alderman Ferrari, in the paper it said 11:30, is that correct?
I'm not sure. I thought they lined up at 10:30 and started. I'm not sure, Mike. I'll have to double check.
That's what I had in my notes too.
It's 10:30 every year. We've always lined up, and I think we march at 11 every year, and then
Ceremony's at 11:30.
okay, the ceremony's 11:30 at the boat club. That means the parade, I think, is at 11 or so, because by the time
It's a pretty long walk.
it is, yeah.
Yeah, the parade's gonna begin at Rotary Park and end at the fire station. There's gonna be a barbershop quartet there singing as they come in, and
You and who else?
Santa Claus will be in there.
Wrong logo.
Yeah, that's right. It's gonna be a real tight squeeze for our open house at that time.
Okay, any other new business?
Yeah, I just wanted to, again, the council should receive in their packet, next council meeting, we'll be voting on the 2014, the tax levy. And there are two graphs that were handed out by our finance officer. One is the tax levy and the choices in which each individual fund, what you're paying for. The other is the pension contributions, if you noted that. And that's great information to have when people are asking you about what's the city doing for unfunded pensions, where your tax dollars are going. So again, that will be in 2 weeks. We'll have the vote for that.
Any other new business? Okay, we have a proclamation. I, Scott J. Harrell, Mayor of the City of Peru, do hereby proclaim December 2014 as Drunk and Drug Driving 3D Prevention Month in the City of Peru, and do hereby call upon all citizens, government agencies, business leaders, hospitals and healthcare providers, schools and public and private institutions to promote awareness of the impaired driving problem, to support programs and policy to reduce the incidence of impaired driving, and to promote safer and healthier behaviors regarding the use of alcohol and other drugs this December holiday season and throughout the year. So do we have a motion to receive the proclamation and place on file?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Have a motion by Alderman Perez, second by Alderman Sapienza, to receive the proclamation and place on file and declare December National Drunk and Drug Driving Prevention Month. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Petitions, communications?
Just one communication from the Chapman Family Partnership requesting variances and rezoning for a property located at 1328 Shooting Park Road.
I'll make a motion to send that to the zoning board and planning commission.
Second.
Have a motion by Alderman Putoff, second by Alderman Radke, to receive the communication, placed on file, and sent to planning and zoning for review and recommendation. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
On Wednesday night, in addition, Your Honor, I believe there is a hearing for the sand mine
That's correct.
at 6:45 on Wednesday night here in the council chambers. So those interested,
The sand transloading.
the transloading procedure on some waivers.
Okay, public comment. Do we have any public comment? Any public comment at this time? Anybody? Okay, no public comment. I don't know of any closed session items that I'm aware of, nothing. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Alderman, well, I've probably heard three people now. Okay. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.